listening to the mid.
The dogs are just going wild. The follies and pitfalls of recording and also
We
looking
have
at each other.
a big
Yeah.
thing in the way. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a big thing in the way of us.
Episode 17. This is take 3.
Did we take one really?
Oh, no, we didn't. We planned on
We planned.
recording Wednesday when I arrived, and that didn't work because we had wine. And then yesterday we actually did record
We recorded a marathon.
an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes of video, only to discover that it was just a conversation between the two of us and nobody would have been interested in it.
No one would have cared.
No.
No.
So alas, here we are, take 3, and this one's the winner. Chicken dinner.
We think.
We think.
This is the beginning, so we'll see if it's
we'll see how it goes.
So we wheedled it down. Our idea in the infancy of this episode was to talk about the fact that we've both turned 50 within the last month, and what did we want to talk about. It started with what lesson per decade would we want, to talk about, or whether it was a highlight, a lesson, or a
defining
theme, defining moments, all of it.
Yeah.
So we found that went down some rabbit holes and wasn't necessarily interesting for anyone else. We hope this is. So we have decided to come back at it with 3
main lessons
that we would take from 50 years of living. So 3 things that we would say if someone was to ask us, what are the 3 most important lessons or themes, something. You guys just follow along. We'll get it out there.
Yeah.
We'll get it out there. This is also our first time recording in person.
Together.
Which you think is going to be easier and better, but you're used to one way of doing it. Like
exactly.
I'm used to a very different, and it's kind of been throwing me off my game. If I have game, it's been throwing me right off because it's like, because we're comfortable and we're not catching up.
We tend to like nobody else is here and we're doing our thing, right? There's Georgia.
Okay. All right. Let's not beat this to death here. Let's just jump into it. Okay.
Lesson 1. Go for it. Should I go first?
Well, I'm just trying because I've written down more than 3 things, which I know you're mad at. So I'm going to try. Yeah, you go first and I'm going to.
So I would say my number 1 thing is forgiveness is personal. And that means to me that choosing to forgive somebody is something that you do for yourself. You don't need to go up to somebody necessarily and say, like look for forgiveness or have somebody apologize to you for something. You need to do it for yourself. You could be alone and just release that forgiveness.
This is a big theme for you. I'm just thinking this because it's come up now. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time it's come up.
Yeah.
In speaking in this form, I mean, we've talked about it separately, but in this format, you've brought up forgiveness. So dive a little into that.
Well, I mean,
where does that come up? Like, throughout the years,
a lot. I mean, it's not a secret. I haven't had the easiest life nor the hardest, but I've had situations. I mean, both my father and brother were alcoholics, and there were some wrongdoings, and being angry about it or carrying all of this anger or resentment throughout your life does nothing but harm you. And that's a big lesson I have learned, is that you got to just forgive these people for any wrongdoings and just move on from it.
So what about when it comes to yourself, like self-forgiveness? Do you have the same philosophy when you feel like you've screwed up at something, or that you're mad at yourself for something? For instance, I'm mad at myself for getting this haircut and I'm not at the forgiveness stage yet. So
love your haircut.
I don't.
That's actually a really good question.
So
I never thought of that, to be honest. But now that I'm thinking about it,
think of the last time you screwed up.
I think I'm pretty hard on myself when I screw up, to be honest.
I think that's we all are really. I think we're all hardest on ourselves.
Yeah.
For anything that we deemed we've done wrong, which is where guilt comes in, and which is carrying that resentment, and that's something we didn't touch on a lot when we did talk about resentment is what about resentment, kind of self-resentment and the way we beat ourselves up leads into shame. It's part of that shame cycle.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
there's, it's one thing to be forgiving of someone else because that's good for you, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's healthy to let go of things or at least be able to reframe them in a way that you're not carrying it around in a negative manner. You're carrying it around as a life lesson or some important, period or thing that happened to you, but how do you not carry the bitterness with it?
Yeah.
What about when it's something you look back on that you're not happy with the way that you handled or a decision you made or a mistake you made?
Yeah.
Can you have the same grace with yourself?
I think that's something I'm going to have to look into because I don't think I do. I definitely don't think I do. That's very interesting. I feel like I'm having an aha.
Can you get better at that, please?
Yeah, I'll work on that just for you.
Okay. So let me wheedle this down. So that's why I'm struggling around the words like life lessons, because it's not lessons, it's things at this point that I think are the most important things to me, the things that have been foundational in making me who I am and why I'm here and what drives me, I guess. So I'm going to say, okay, so for a trait or the thing that I've learned that I think is the most important. So I'm thinking like if I could say I could give three things to one of my kids or all of my kids that would make them more able to get through life or more able to be successful or to learn lessons quicker or whatever it might be. So I would say for me, the thing that I've had to build and that you can't give to anyone, nor do they teach, is resilience.
Okay.
So capacity and resilience are sort of the same thing. How do you build capacity to be resilient? Like how do you build up your resilience so that when you have an adverse thing happen to you, you don't crumble, that you're able to, and I'm not saying the next minute, the next day, but pick up those pieces and move forward.
Yeah.
So that is something I think like you get beat down over and over again in life through certain, everyone has to be beaten down to a certain,
you have to
in order, beaten down sounds like a little bit dramatic, but like everybody has to have follies and pitfalls, right? In order to build character. It builds character. And the character trait that I would most like my children to be able to build because it will give them more capacity is resilience.
Okay.
So that to me, like I feel like I'm a fairly resilient person. I feel like you get that way because you're dealing with adverse things in your life. And then everyone's going to have them, but it's all in the way that you deal and what you take from it and how you move on.
Yeah.
And once I learned that you have a choice in what you take and how you take it and how you apply it to the rest of your life, that was a huge gift for me.
Okay.
So that type of resilience and knowing it gives me a lot of comfort because then I know what I'm capable of facing. I know I will be okay if.
Right.
Because I have this resilience. I have this store of resilience. I know that will serve me. Life is good right now.
Yeah.
But bad things are going to happen. Like that's just the way it is. But like there's going to be more heartache. There's going to be more sadness. There's going to be more difficult times ahead. But I also know that I have this inner store of resilience that will help me through those times.
Okay. And so you saying that one of the most important things that you wish for your children to learn is that how as a parent, so as a parent, how are you attempting, I guess, or have been attempting over the years to instill that in your children? Do you let go and allow them to deal with adversity?
Well, it's different at different stages, right?
Yes,
so when they're young, I think I would have done it when something bad happens. I've always been a believer that you take the lessons from the situation. That number one, the biggest thing I wanted to teach my kids, and I'm not adding another thing here, but it goes hand in hand, is accountability. So when there was a situation that happened, whether it's for them at home, at school, and rather than, one of the things that I'm the most afraid of is creating victims, because I hate when people blame outside forces
everything else
for everything.
Yeah.
And there are situations when you're certainly wronged, but then you have to look at what you're part of. There's always a sliver of a part for you in that.
Yeah.
A part that you've participated in, even if it's like keeping the wrong friends, even if it's being open to something that you knew wasn't right with your gut. So with my kids, I talked a lot about guts. I'm like, if it makes you feel sick, it's not right for you.
Yeah.
There's a difference between butterflies, so being afraid of doing something you haven't done before,
Yeah.
and feeling sick because you know it's not, like that's your compass, your gut, right?
Okay.
So I used to do a lot of that. And if they got into something, then I would be like, okay, well, what's your gut saying? Like, what's your body telling you? Because your body
Okay,
is
so
your
you
biggest.
encourage them to kind of explore it on their own, but you're guiding them.
Sure,
And
when they were little, but
yeah,
that's easier when they're little because you know you're going to have those conversations when they come home from the schoolyard and they've had an instance with what you know adversaries or whatever it might be, or there's a friend that's dropped them. You
yeah,
have, I think at that point I knew I had the tools to help them through that. As they get older, and then this is we've touched on this before, probably in the episode on teachers. We in this generation especially have had a tendency to bubble wrap our kids against
yeah,
any, I don't know, anything that can go wrong,
anything.
any
Yeah.
negative feeling. And so I think I started to realize that when my eldest son was older, that I wish I would have let him fail more in a safe way. Like there's fail safe, right? Like when they're in school and they don't finish a project and they fail, that's a safe place to fail because
Absolutely.
nothing bad is really going to happen. They
No.
might get a bad mark, they might have to make up a mark, but all of those consequences are easy. They're right in front of them.
Yeah.
There's easy lessons to gain.
Yes.
If you bubble wrap them the whole time and then they're out in the world and they're having these issues, they're not going to build resilience. And
No.
I've had to learn that lesson as a parent. And I think I still have moments where I have to be like,
Yeah.
heck off,
Yeah.
because right now is an important lesson coming for them. And I think it's also, we don't give our children enough room. I know I haven't at times given my
Yeah.
children enough room to fail safely.
Okay.
So that's something I would say I would choose to do differently moving forward.
Okay.
And that I wish, like that would be a bit of a regret for me that I didn't take some of those opportunities when they were younger to let them fail safe. So resilience.
Okay.
Moving right
Right.
along. So,
Next point.
this is where we didn't do well last night.
No,
we did not move right
we
along.
went off this way and then this way. And
We moved, just not in any
No.
coherent direction.
okay, so next on my list would be sort of, I guess, coinciding with my first one, which is forgiveness. Let go. Letting go. So to me, I think all of us, but in my experience, and it's not so much holding grudges, I guess a little bit of holding grudges, but just whatever wrongs have been done to you or whatever, you know, adversity you have faced in relationships. If you've chosen to forgive somebody, you need to let it go after that. Once you have chosen to forgive, whether it's on your own or in person with somebody seeking an apology, whatever, you can't hang on to that anymore. You need to let it go and move on. It's not fair because if you choose to forgive somebody, but then you still continuously bring it up and you lord it over their head, it's not fair. It's absolutely
it's not really
fair.
forgiveness, is it?
It's not. No, that's it.
That's really what that wouldn't be in my definition of forgiveness, because part of forgiveness, I think, is letting it go.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily letting go of the lesson, but letting go of the hurt attached to that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think there's so much opportunity in relationships too, to your point, to say, okay, like if we've come to this crossroads and I feel wronged, there's a real opportunity to learn more about the person you're in whatever relationship it is with, because you're learning about their boundaries, where their sore spots are, their sensitivities, and your own.
Yep.
Right. And usually, like, you wouldn't stay in a relationship with someone who's hurting you intentionally.
Exactly.
So if they're not hurting you intentionally, there's probably something to be learned about your weak spots.
Yes.
Because is it just that you're super sensitive about something, and is that really anything to do with the other person?
Exactly.
So it's about, I think that's maturity and growth too, is taking those moments when your feelings are hurt to go, okay, what part, like, where's my accountability in this? And it's not that you've done something, it's that you're carrying something.
Yeah.
And part of your makeup is that you are sensitive because of past or whatever it might be here. So where do you need to do some work too?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of reflection there, because it's so much easier to say, well, you've wronged me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What,
That's too easy.
Digging down into that through a conversation to repair.
Yeah.
usually you walk away with a little bit of both. It's like, okay, well, you step somewhere I wish you wouldn't step. That's
Yeah.
my boundary. That now you've learned that. And now here's where I need to really build some resilience.
Exactly.
It's about building that resilience and that capacity to be able to say, wow, that's offensive to me, but it's offensive to me because of
exactly.
whatever it might be.
Oftentimes many situations are 50-50, whether you see that or not, right? Like, I mean, it's exactly like you just said, like it's your reaction to certain things as well.
Especially in the closer the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're on tender hooks about
Yeah.
certain things in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
That you feel you can't bring up or you can't.
Exactly. So even beyond that, the letting it go part is also petty little stuff. Like if you've had, you know, fights with whoever, right? Like family members or anything like that. I feel like for that, life's too short.
Are you good at that?
Life's
Are you
too
good
short.
at letting
I
things
am
go?
good at that. I am very good at that. I do think
you don't stew in your head even afterwards.
I will for a little bit, but I can let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can eventually just be like, oh, whatever, it's gone now. Like it's done. Like
Yeah,
just
you don't
move
carry
on.
that into.
No,
I try to
no.
be really good at that too. Like I try. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it by any stretch, but really once something's done, but I do like want to talk about it. Like I do want to get to the bottom of it. And if someone's hurt me, I want to understand too. Like, is that me? Is that you? Is that like what's happening in that moment?
I think I'm pretty good at self-reflection in that moment, actually.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying about like your reaction to things. Like I'll be angry for a time and stew and think about it, but then the rational part of me starts kicking in, and this is all in my head, right? Because I don't talk
this isn't
as
an
much
outside conversation.
Like, yeah, I can't. I mean, I can, but sometimes I don't feel the need to communicate with another person that often. So sometimes I'll just kind of go through it in my head, sort of thing. And I will say I do have this capability of being my own devil's advocate. I can kind of split myself and be like, okay, well, how would that person be seeing what my reaction is, or like kind of thing. I will say that I'm pretty good at, but yeah, I think just let it go. Life's too fucking short. Well, to hang on to grudges that long for petty things is my point, right?
But it's also, can you let go of people then too? Are you good at that?
No.
I know you're not. It's like a couple of people you've moved away from, but you haven't completely let go of.
Yeah.
And that interests me about you, because I do not have a very big problem about letting people go.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish to let people go and you have to still have them in your life. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I don't really have a choice there.
Yeah.
But like I've tried to let some people go, and I'm like, they boomerang, because it's like, oh, you have a place in my life and I can't undo.
Yeah.
And I have to respect that and understand that I can't let go. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I have a very, very difficult time letting people.
Does that come down to your people pleasiness, do you think? Like what would someone
Probably an element of it. I think a lot of it's guilt though. I think I carry a lot of guilt for people who, like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings either. Well, maybe that is people pleasing.
Yeah, that's exactly the definition of people pleasing, is one of the things I'm thinking. And in some place, it's not your responsibility nor your business.
Yeah.
If someone's feelings are hurt.
Yeah. But see, that's it. I take it.
But that's not your business.
Yeah.
If you're doing what's good for you and what's right for you, how someone else absorbs that, it's not your business.
That's true.
None of your business.
None of your business. Yeah.
None of
your business.
So that actually, this is so tricky, but I'm able to work in all my things based on the conversation that we're having. So
it's funny.
So part of the traits or strengths, when I was thinking about them, and I was thinking about this late last night, was the ability with resilience and all that to see sometimes you need this in order to build resilience. That's why I'm saying I couldn't just put down one thing.
Okay.
So you need to be able to see something from multiple points of view.
Yeah.
If you can't see anything other than your own perspective, then it's going to be hard to build that capacity, because you have to be able to put yourself into a situation that's not necessarily yours to understand why someone's behaving the way they are. And a big teacher for me has been people management, and that in that lesson, because instead of jumping to a conclusion about why someone's behaving a certain way, especially in the workplace, it probably started at the workplace, and maybe I had some seeds of it before that, but it really came to fruition for me, this skill in the workplace, because I have to make decisions about the way people are behaving, or help direct certain things about the way people,
Yeah.
interpersonal skills in the workplace. So being able to think about what it might be like to be in that situation, and to be able to look, you hope, from like a 360 vantage point to why someone's behaving or making decisions, or saying something, has been extremely useful for me. And then being able to carry that into my personal life.
Yeah.
It builds that capacity to deal with different situations, because you're not taking everything personally. You're not saying, like, a lot of things, I would venture to say most things are really not about us, because people are the mirrors that
I would agree
we
with that.
hold
Yeah.
up, right? Like, in there, people react and defend, and um really just react to what we're doing based on their own experience. So a lot of the times, yes, I may have triggered someone, or I may have, but it's not necessarily about my words. It's because they've had a past experience that was hurtful, and I've brought that up, or,
Yeah.
and vice versa. So that all works into that. The ability to build resilience through, that ability, that the let all of it is what I'm trying to say with it, is all of it is interconnected in that way, right? Like
Yeah.
those things that we're bringing forward. The other thing I would add to that, and what I wish, my daughter has it, she has this ability to resource. I would love to be able to say that that was about me, but that I learned at an early age how to be resourceful, how to figure stuff out on my own.
Yeah.
And that's also built that resilience and that capacity. But if you give my daughter a problem, she is like boom, boom, boom. Like, watching her react and work.
She's naturally.
Oh my God, it's probably my biggest source of pride and comfort with her is her resourcefulness. Because you can't always teach that, right?
No,
Like,
you
she
cannot.
has a bit of that ingrained in her.
Yeah.
And her ability to problem solve, because she's resourceful, gives me great comfort as a parent.
Absolutely.
Because I know that that kid is going to be fine. Because I watch her, I'm like, she just has
because
connected
if she's
all
in a
these
sticky
dots.
situation, no matter what it is, financially, socially, whatever,
She knows what she has to do.
Yeah, exactly. She knows exactly what she needs to do
I
in order
love
to
that
get
trait.
out of it.
That's a good trait to
Yeah,
have, that
that's a
resourcefulness.
fantastic trait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think all of it, I'm just going to take over for a second, because,
Sure.
all of that leads back to being okay on your own. And that's probably the thing that I think, especially my last 6 years, and we've talked about this in the big reckoning, the biggest gift I have for myself at this age, at 50, is my ability to know I have all of this and I will be fine. I don't need people. I need love. I need connection. I need all of those things. But I know I can manage in any situation.
Yeah.
I think, within what I understand in my reality. I know that I have the resourcefulness and the capacity and the resilience to be on my own. And all of those things tied together have made me like myself.
Yeah.
And that is something I don't think I could have said with confidence, even maybe 5 years ago, maybe like within the last decade, for sure. And that comes from 5 decades. It doesn't come from just the last decade. It comes from the path, right?
Like, building that resilience creates that, right?
And knowing that I can do and rebuild. And like we were talking about last night, being the architects. We are all the architects of our life. And that doesn't mean that we can control every variable, but it means that when you are given what you're given, and the lot and where you are, how do you use your resourcefulness to create what you want to create?
Yeah.
And it's not to say I'm not sitting in a mansion with a million, like, I'm not Dr. Ho on his yacht with all the short. I remember the Dr. Ho commercial.
Oh, the foot circulation?
Yeah, it was the guy on the boat. Who was the guy on the
idea.
boat?
I
Anyway, the
didn't see
$1 million guy on the boat. I always think of, like, sure, like, I'm not talking about creating that type of reality. I'm talking about creating a reality that's close to my integrity, right? Like, I'm living within my integrity. And that to me is creating a life of happiness.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
I'm not done yet, but you continue.
Oh, okay. Well, I do have one more point, but there's actually a new one I want to add. This is before my final point. And that would be open-mindedness. Be fucking open-minded, people. Like, come on. It's, enough. Enough of the stubborn views and
Well, thinking you know what's best.
yeah.
Like, guys,
Ignorance is so
it's so self-protective. It shows me that you're afraid.
yeah.
When you have such staunch viewpoints of people or the world or what you think people should be doing or calling themselves or addressing themselves as or gendering themselves or politically like leaning, if you think you know better, check yourself.
Then you're wrong.
Yes.
That's what it is. Then you're wrong.
And this is my problem with organized religion is it assumes that you know better than everyone else.
Yeah.
I do not.
No. Nobody does.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. And I think if there's one thing that actually frustrates me to my core is closed-minded people. It actually ignites my temper a little bit. It's so frustrating to me. It's so foolish. It's so
it's based in fear. I really believe
ignorance to think that you know better than somebody else based on nothing but opinion. Yeah.
When you're arguing with someone's experience in the world.
Yeah.
And if you can't be open to a new viewpoint based on experience you haven't lived.
Yeah. Then you're a fool.
I've dealt with this with people that view newcomers a certain way. And it's like, I am sorry. If your family's in peril where you're living and you're going to tell me that you wouldn't do everything you could to get them to a better place, like fingers.
Fuck you.
Fingers
like,
all
seriously,
around.
I don't care.
Yeah, I have no time for it.
That same.
Yeah.
So that was my little
we'll get here.
rant. That was my little rant about that.
Oh yeah.
So but no, that's I know, right? That's what I'm saying. It just infuriates me. It gets me so riled up.
Well, just knowing that I think that comes to a point too where you want to continue to challenge yourself, like read more, read different viewpoints, listen to different viewpoints. There's so many things at our fingertips. If you want to take it to a social media, there's so many different people you can listen to on social media about their experiences.
Yeah,
if you want to read
podcasts,
there's so much.
God. Yeah.
And it's all out there for us to understand each other better.
Yeah.
And to close yourself off to that, or to say that this person shouldn't be here, or this person shouldn't call themselves this, or who cares?
Yeah.
Too. Like when it comes to the gender thing, I'm just like, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but who cares?
Yeah.
If you don't want to learn about it, don't learn about it. Just respect people in your face.
Exactly.
Like there's ways to be ignorant about things that don't hurt other people too. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's the rant of that. So I'm done with that one now. I have my last point. So you go ahead.
Well, I can't read my writing.
Neither can I.
Oh no, that was just tied to the other one. I'm saying my biggest joy is learning how to spend time with myself. But that's not my last point. I have one last point, but learning to enjoy my company.
Yeah.
Learning, like we were talking, I'd seen something the other day on Instagram or something about a man who had spent 6 months meditating. Like he took himself out of North American life and went and meditated. I'm never doing that. Like, let's not think that for a moment. But one thing I really liked that he said, yeah, he had all these great, like mind-blowing experiences meditating. But the biggest gift was that he learned to find a cozy spot within himself that he can retreat to at any time. I loved that. I was like, that's wonderful. I want myself to be my warm spot.
Yeah.
Because you're not always going to be surrounded with people, and God forbid, like people pass on and people. Yeah. And I had to learn that young because my parents died when I had young kids. So I had to learn to find that parental love, which was gone somewhere in me. And I always said for me, it started with trees. Like whenever I was in the forest, because hiking is probably my biggest if we want to say self-care, hiking for me. And being in the forest alone makes me feel parented, because there's these things around me that are so much wiser than me, that have been on this earth so much longer than me, that kind of like, you feel like they're patting you on the head going, don't worry, we've seen it all, right?
Yeah.
So but then also in that, learning that love of being alone. And it did start hiking. That was like really my meditative practice, was being alone, walking in the woods. And then taking from that I'm good being alone. Like I like being alone. I enjoy that. time. And when I was younger, I didn't. I went from relationship to relationship or experience to experience. And I felt very lonely being alone. And that's something that's changed probably in the last 5 to 10 years, where I just really am comfortable by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not to say I'm always comfortable in my skin. I think my hair looks stupid. I worry about my weight. I worry about my skin sag.
Well,
I
we
do
all
all
do.
those
We all
human
do.
things. But at the core of it, the most important thing about it is that I'm connected to myself.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my
Okay.
final point,
Oh,
which is what I think is the meaning of life. From 50
okay.
years, my meaning of life, what everything has boiled down to
For
for
you.
me. Yeah, but I think for
It
more
could
than
be
just
applied
me,
to,
I
yeah.
think it's connection. It's one word.
Mm,
It's that we as humans need to be connected to something. And it doesn't mean like when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm connected to when people talk about their work and they're like, well, I'm connected to my purpose. Yes, sure, you can cultivate that. If you're lucky enough to be able to cultivate that in your work, that's beautiful. But I think that there's so many opportunities in any job. And I'm talking about jobs because we all have to spend the majority of our life at a workplace involved in some sort of money making
yes.
venture, right? Like we all need to do that. And I think that there are so many missed opportunities in the world, whether, and we've talked about this before, whether walking down the street, whether being in line at a grocery store, we're all striving for connection in social media, right? Like we're all on our phones looking for something to connect to. But if you look up, there is connection everywhere.
Everywhere. All
Everywhere, even in with people you thought you would never connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling that you get when you've had a connection with someone, even if it's like oh my God, these memories of like having conversations with people in lines, they come up to me or on public transit or anywhere.
Yeah.
There's that opportunity is being given to you with how many times a day? And at the end of it all, when we're sitting somewhere knowing that your days are numbered, you're going to remember a connection. You're not going to remember anything else.
Right.
You're going to remember that the times that you felt the most fed, the most fueled are when you're connecting with whether it's a friend, a stranger, your partner, your child, some child. Like, what about when you get a glimpse of a kid and no one knows that you're like having a little moment with a kid in a stroller? Like,
they're smiling and nobody else knows. Yeah, it's true.
Like, there's nothing to me more important in this world. If I have to boil it down to one experience, it's connection.
Wow. That is a good one. That's better than mine.
And there's my list.
My last one.
And I got them
with that one.
I got them all out.
Now here's my shitty last one. No, I'm kidding. It's not shitty. But
It's
that was
cookies
actually
and
very
tea.
powerful. I actually really like that. And I think we should have saved that to last.
Well, I was on a roll. You know, I can't shut up once I start. Now I can.
My last point, and this I'm going to 100% fess up.
My list.
My last point is yeah, like I said, I'm still learning this. In fact, I've more recently started trying to put it more into practice, and it's very at its newborn stages. No, it's not Kegels. It's at its newborn stages, but I am trying to be more present.
But that's all that's not a bad one. Presence and connection are all intertwined.
That's true.
How
actually,
connection without presence.
Yeah, that's true. But like, but I mean, even like random things on the day to day, right? Like just put the phone down, you know, for 5 minutes and like look at somebody as you're talking instead of just like, oh yeah, and like having a conversation, but not making eye contact.
It's shocking, like how that's become that it has to be practiced. Like since phones have landed in our hands, that we actually have to mindfully practice.
Put it down.
Like, not that there wasn't other distractions. You might be reading the paper. You might be like, you know, whatever in times gone by.
But not to this degree.
No.
I mean,
it's such a magnet, like a pull. And now that I'm back in social media, you know, I'm struggling with it. Like I'm struggling with that pull.
Yeah.
Because I do have I think I have an addictive personality in some ways where I'm just like, well, what else is out there? Well, what else?
I think we naturally all do right now. But I think the key with that is like, you can do that because that's the times now. Everything is done that way, right? And you can still do that. But I think we just have to be mindful of like when there's, like when Emily gets home from school, I don't need to keep holding my phone while I'm asking her how her day was. Put the phone down. Look her in the eye.
Isn't
How
it
was your
crazy
day?
that we have to be disciplined, I
It
guess,
is
about this?
crazy,
Like,
but we do.
yeah, we do. And
We
we
do.
need to do that to connect.
And I
And
think it's
present.
okay. Spiral down the social media rabbit hole,
But maybe have like
do it
set
on your
times.
exactly.
Yeah.
And just be mindful and say, oh, you know what? I haven't really put it down today and looked my daughter in the eyes and had a conversation yet. So, I'm going to do that right now. Like just little baby steps like that can
Presence
go
is
a long way.
The most attractive thing about a person.
Yes.
I really think so. When I met my current partner, the dude or the guy or whatever we refer to him as, that you make fun of me. The biggest thing that I noticed about him and what I found the most attractive was his presence. And he's still, I think that's what makes him good at his job, but it's not put on in any way, shape, or form. If you're having a conversation with him, you know what I think is also an irony?
Think of it, yeah.
He's super present.
Yeah, he is.
An irony about this is he has zero social media. Okay, there might be a correlation there.
There might be. That's interesting.
But he is the most present person I've ever met. By far. It like swept me off my feet, that presence. Like it was, I've never felt more listened to, heard.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't understand me, because I'm not always palatable. It's understandable. The presence or the wanting to truly understand something, I've never experienced that before.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for eye contact, right? Like, I mean, I never paid much attention to it because even now, when I'm actually speaking, I don't necessarily make a lot of eye contact. When I'm listening, you can't move my eyes from your face, right? Like, it's just the way I am, right? But I think that's just because I'm insecure with my communication. But
yeah, that's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to look someone in the eye while you're talking. That's why so many conversations happen over text or on the phone, because you're like separating.
That's it, right? But I see I'm doing it now. Now I'm really fucking mindful.
Well, this is getting weird too, though.
But I will say that as I'm aging,
you're not aging a day, baby.
As I'm aging and like my confidence has definitely been better than it ever has been. I can say that like when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm making a little bit more eye contact and I do feel that difference. Do you know what I mean? Like there is a big difference when you can look somebody in the eye. Yeah, it's
so connecting.
It's almost like a frequency.
Yeah.
Right. Like
it's energy, exchange of energy. Of course, we're exchanging energy.
It's really powerful
without
stuff.
being hokey pokey. We are exchanging energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like if we could just focus on that just a little bit more, who knows what kind of
maybe we need
life-changing things that could happen for you, for your own confidence.
You know, people vape. We should have wooden phones.
A what?
Like a wooden phone to hold.
Just a piece of wood. Yeah. It's just to hold it. Like it's comfort. Like
it's like a soother.
That's funny. That's funny.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm done pretty much. It's just try and be more present. And that's something I'm just recently, like I said, it's a newborn stages, but I'm really gonna try and make an effort going forward.
Now we don't have to talk about turning 50 anymore. I'm so glad. Like I'm glad it's
done.
It's over.
Done. We're 50. We're now over 50. And I
love it.
It is what it is.
Oh my God, what a freaking privilege to get here and feel good in my skin and feel good in general. Like
bring it on.
Bring it on.
And that's that.
That's that. Thanks for listening.
Oh, we're cutting it right there. We didn't even do the housekeeping.
I'm done. At first, I feel great.
No,
I'm done. I've had my tea. Housekeeping.
Should we get the paper?
Yeah, will you entertain the folks?
Oh, entertain the folks. What do you want me to do? Let me do a song. Jazz hands?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm getting really uncomfortable.
Talk about our this weekend.
We did do a lot of planning. So we actually had Teresa brought back a flip chart, and we have been doing a lot of planning for season 2.
People that are visual.
Yeah, here's the flip chart.
Keeping notes.
Oh, there you go. Can you see it?
I don't know. But let me read them to you.
Yeah, read it.
So to connect with us, because we love connection, on Facebook, please go to Facebook. No, well, first go to Facebook. Yes, go there. And then go to @mid podcast. For Instagram and YouTube, we are @the_mid_podcast. For email, to contact us by email and send us a juicy question that we can chew on the podcast, please go to themidconversations@gmail.com. And to visit our website and subscribe, because we know you all want to, please go to themidconversations.wixsite.com/podcast.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so season 2, we have been planning, and please do that. Please follow, subscribe, and share. That's pretty good. Share with your friends, please, please, please.
Yeah. Social media shares go a long way in building our numbers.
Truly.
Building our numbers makes it so that one day we might make a couple dollars to dive back into advertising.
And keep doing this.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Yeah.
And quit our jobs.
We hope.
Oh, no.
No.
I'm joking. We do this for pure joy.
It's pure joy. But season 2 has a lot of exciting things coming up. We have a few surprises that we will not reveal at this moment. But
Wendy
we
shows
do
her
have
boobs.
weekly striptease. No.
Can we get guests on for that?
Yeah. We do have a few guests coming up in season 2. We've got new formats.
We have one more guest coming up in season 1.
We do.
We have one more guest.
Yes.
So we have 9 episodes left in this season.
Yeah, and then we're taking a 4-week break.
In June.
Yeah.
In July. June and July, we're going to be taking a break. So we have 9 more episodes
for season 1, and then we're going to be launching into season 2 with a whole new format and some new ideas, and it's going to be really fun. We have some really great
and we're opening the season with a roundtable. So that's one of the things that we're going to be introducing, and we're really excited about.
Yeah.
Bringing in different perspectives and keeping our minds open and learning how other people view things and do things within their own lives. And so the roundtable, bringing in multiple voices, is going to be something that we launch in season 2.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and we hope you have a great day.
Week, month, year. Thanks for listening.
Next week.
Thanks for listening
to the mid.
Bye-bye, all.
Bye-bye.
You know where to shut off.
Is it there? Yeah, it's there. Okay.
You're listening to The Mid.